everybody. How y'all doing? I'm over here playing my new camera. I got a new camera doing. I don't feel like turning my light on. I got a new camera, but I don't feel like turning my light on. It's like, let y'all know I'm here. Y'all like the new camera? Nice and crisp, isn't it? But nice and crisp camera. I like it, but I don't feel like turning my light on. Y'all know how I look. Y'all know how I look. But we here. We're going to talk about why Vegas is dead. And we're going to talk a little bit about, man, LA podcasting. Like, man, come on. Like, I talked about it a little bit a few nights ago. But, you know, there's one thing. If there's one thing I can ask for from my city, is that we let the gangster shit die. It's over with. Like, it's over with. It's over. It's over. It's over. It's over. You know what I mean? All the and not just from my city, from us as black men. Let's stop all the tough talk. You know what I mean? It's not worth it. Especially on the internet. All that talking about what you gonna do to somebody, you know, what you gonna do and what they gonna and let's just stop it, because first off, I don't want to see. We gotta know the difference between the internet and real life. You know what I mean? And nobody should get physically harmed or assaulted or even have to even hurt somebody else over some shit that's talked about and done on the internet. You know what I mean? And then when it's time to follow through with all that talk you've been doing, it don't happen. And I'm glad that it don't happen. You know what I mean? But we're gonna talk about that. But first, I want to talk about the title of the topic. Las Vegas is dead. And this is why. Let's break this down. Today's show is coming to you from a point of view of somebody who's been going to Vegas his whole life. I am from Los Angeles, and if you're from LA, Vegas is like your backyard. You know, it's the home away from home. You know. That's Vegas. It is your backyard. And I was going across this tweet that I saw, and it got me thinking about, you know, my what the city I used to love so much, which is Las Vegas. I've been going like my first time in Vegas was in '86. I was 5. I remember, and Vegas was always somewhere we went right when school let out in the summertime. Vegas is synonymous with a whole bunch of Laker championships. If you're a Laker fan like myself, I remember my Lakers winning in '87 when my parents was like, "When we gonna go to Vegas? Let's go to Vegas. Make sure we go by Game 6 so we could be out there." Like, my parents used to time the drive from LA to Vegas, so we can get to Vegas in time to watch the Lakers whoop up on the Celtics. I remember being in Vegas in 1988. When the Lakers beat Isaiah Thomas and the Detroit Pistons. It was raining in Vegas that day. It was like acid rain. It was thundering and shit. And my Lakers beat the Pistons. And then, you know, I remember going to Vegas the next year when my Lakers lost to the Pistons. That was a yearly thing. And then by the time I got to be 10 or 11, my parents was taking us 2, sometimes 3 times a year. And if you was going back in the 80s and the 90s, you know you was going to Circus. If you wanted to circus in the 80s and the 90s, you missed it. If you wanted to circus as a kid specifically, as a grown up, that place would have fucking annoyed. It would annoy me. I go back to my dad and say thank you. You know, thank you, pops. You really looked out for us staying in that cheap ass hotel. But as a kid, man, we loved it. Circus had this is Circus I remember. It had slots of fun in the front. And when you went to Circus, they had a circus every hour. And it'd be like a 15-minute circus. So when you go to the arcade, your money running low. You know, my parents didn't have a whole lot of goddamn money. You know, back in the 80s, $20 in the arcade can get you a couple hours because the games was a quarter each. But when the money got low, you went to the circus. And it was on people on trapeze and doing all kind of flips and shit. And me being a young, always wanted to be a musician, I would always sit right there next to the band. So I'll be watching the circus and I'll be watching the drummer at the same time because as a kid, music always infatuated me. Love music. I would sit right there next to the organ. It was a guy on the organ and a guy on the drums. And I would always sit right there next to the organ player and drummer and watch them play and then watch a circus. I'm saying that to say Vegas is a core part of my life. You know, I was there my whole, like I grew up, I remember seeing the Mirage get built. We used to stay at every hotel when it got built. Or my parents would, when sometimes we, like when we was young kids, we didn't go all the time, like my parents did the Mirage. But I remember seeing the Mirage get built in 89. I remember seeing Treasure Island in the mid-90s. I remember New York. We stayed at the Excalibur 2 weeks after it opened. Only one half of the hotel was operable. The other half wasn't. We stayed at the Excalibur literally 2 weeks after it opened. You know what I mean? We stayed at the Hacienda right before it got blown up. The Hacienda is what's now Mandalay Bay. We stayed there 2 or 3 weeks before they shut it down to implode that motherfucker on New Year's Eve 1999. I'm telling y'all, I used to love Vegas. We stayed at the MGM Grand when it first opened up, when it had that ugly ass lion in the front. Y'all remember that? Rocky heard me banging around. He started running in here. You know, I remember all that shit, man. I remember when the Bally's was the MGM and where the MGM used to be the Marina Hotel. My parents got married in Vegas. My dad married my mom. My mom was in a khaki suit, and my dad was in some slacks in a button down, and they got married in Vegas, and they still married to this day. Till this day. I used to love Vegas. You used to be able, I remember in the 2000s, if you gambled just a little bit, you could stay $59.99 a night at the Rio or get free rooms if you gambled enough. You got free rooms. The buffets was cheap. The pool was free. Parking was free. It was an easy, cheap getaway. I remember working at the bank when I was 19 years old, making goddamn $9.50 an hour. And I had money to go to Vegas. I have $200 because I'm gonna get a free room. You can go to Vegas with when you 21 and nigga what? We used to go before I was 21. Man, what? We was always in Vegas. So what happened? Vegas is dead. What the fuck happened? It started with this tweet I saw right here. I saw this tweet. If y'all will look, you'll see here it saying, this is the strip on a Saturday night, y'all.
Where's the people?
And it ain't Trump's fault.
Holy shit, dude. What the fuck? Like, I can't make this
I couldn't imagine
up.
no shit like this.
Holy shit, bro. This is a Saturday at where are the fucking people? Look, even on the Venetian Bridge over there. Nobody.
What?
Holy shit.
Oh shit! I got a new camera. Let me change this camera feed. My bad.
Like this on a Saturday at 1
There we go.
Where's the people?
Never in a million years. I remember them when they built these bridges.
Dude.
I'll never forget. It was 1995 when they first started building those bridges. The first bridge in Vegas was connecting. Well, I'm confused. I may be wrong on this. But I remember the first two. The first one was on Tropicana, and the other one was on Flamingo. They were built around the same time, connecting the goddamn Caesar's Palace to the Flamingo on Las Vegas Boulevard, and then the other one connecting the MGM Grand with the New York, with Tropicana and goddamn Excalibur. I remember when they built these motherfucking bridges.
Fuck? Like, I can't make this shit up.
I'm telling y'all right now, back in the 90s, in the 2000s,
this is a Saturday.
They had to build them bridges because it took forever to walk across the street.
Bridge over there.
Look at this shit.
Holy shit.
What? Man, my grandmama rolling over in her grave right now. If my grandmother saw Vegas like this, oh my God. Vegas is dead. Vegas is dead. I went from going 4 to 5 times a year to, I'll go every other year for nostalgia reasons. But my wife just had some business in Vegas last month and it was dead, she said. And the question is, what happened? Let's talk about what happened. What happened was the corporate takeover of Vegas. The corporations. It wasn't Trump. It wasn't any one thing. It was the corporations. When the mafia ran Vegas, Vegas was a lot more honest. All right? When the mafia ran Vegas, Vegas was a lot more honest. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? In the 90s, this is what happened. It started with the corporations kicking the mafia out. Then it was the mergers in the 90s. In 95, the ITT corporations acquired Caesar's World. And in 96, that's when you saw the Circus Group making this move. The Circus Group bought the Hacienda. Then you saw the MGM Grand Group. They went ahead, took control of New York. In 99, you saw the Mandalay. So what you basically saw was a Circus Group and the Caesars Group, and the group that controls the Harris Group. I think Harris was the one that did Caesars. They started buying up each other all throughout the 90s. The different hotels started buying up one another. And it took away the diversity on the strip. One second. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I had to respond to a message. Somebody texted me about some other shit. So basically what you have now, by the late 90s, you had the groups under Circus. You had the Circus, the Excalibur, the Mandalay Bay, the Monte Carlo. And then under the MGM Group, you had New York, all the Prim Resorts. And then the Caesars Group, Bally's, Paris, the Flamingo. And so basically 2 or 3 companies started owning everything. And then after 2 or 3 companies, for the most part, acquired everything, they started stripping away. You went from you only had to gamble, I'm gonna throw a number out there, 1,000 points to get a free room, to where now you gotta gamble 3,000 points to get a free room. I'm just throwing numbers out there because all the different hotels had different point systems. I'm just using numbers in general, so just take what I'm saying in general. Say you had to gamble 1,000 points to get a free room, 500 points to get discounted rooms. It went from 1,000 points to 5,000 points for a free room, and that 1,000 points that used to get you a free room now only got you a discounted room. Then they started adding on resort fees. And then after they started, then what they did was they made the pools all smaller. You know what I mean? Back in the 80s, they used to have them deep ass pools. 11 feet. You got fun in the pool. 90s came, they made them pools like goddamn 4 feet deep, all of them. So the pools became less fun. You know? And then you had then what the corporations started doing, they started raising the prices of the buffets. Buffets, I mean, when I was a kid, it was like $6.99 for breakfast, $8.99 for lunch, $12.99 for dinner. And then for that $12.99 goddamn buffet, they had king crab. You can get some goddamn king crab for that price. As much as you want. Then the $12.99. I remember when buffets first got to $20. We was like, yay, what the fuck is going on here? They started charging more for the shows. Now they stopped giving out free rooms unless you gamble like Bruno Mars. You stop getting free rooms. Now, only thing gambling can do is give you a waived resort fee. Then they brought in the pool parties. It started with Dreas. Dreas came up with that day pool party. And after Dreas' successful day pool party, everybody started imitating it. Then it went from, okay, you can go to the pool party and then pay for a cabana. Then cabana started becoming, $500 for 2 hours. And it's now $75 to even get in the pool party. And then the cabanas go to $2,500 to $10,000. No more free shows. And then the casinos. I remember when I was a kid, like when I first started gambling, if you on that progressive slot machine, like just say you're on the quarters, progressive, the minimum, it would always be at least a 6-figure payout on the progressive slot machines. 6 figures to 1.1 million, 1.2, 1.6. You get to the dollar progressives, $2 or $3 million payouts. Now, when I was in Vegas a couple months ago, I saw the dollar progressive jackpot was $38,000. Like, what? You stop paying out. What up, Rocky? You good? They stopped paying out. And it just, then the straw that broke the camel's back was when they started charging for parking. That's when I said, you know what? All right, y'all gave me resort fees. All right, whatever. All right, I can't go to the pool no more because it's $75, or I got to spend $2,500 on a cabana. All right, the buffets are now like $40, and y'all ain't even got king crab no more. Hell, y'all ain't even got snow crab no more. Y'all don't even got crab at all. And the buffet is like $60 with no crab. And it was like, you know what? You won. Now you want to charge me for parking too? You won, Vegas. You won. Let's get the fuck out of here. That's what happened for the people coming from LA. And then for the locals, think about it. When I first started going to Vegas, where the Silverton is, that shit used to be far as fuck out. Now they built a whole goddamn city. Vegas wasn't no city back in the day. How in the hell was the Strip 1,000 times more crowded back when that place wasn't even a fucking real city? Like, I remember saying, when you come in to Vegas, it used to be, when you driving right around here, when you come around that curve, this used to be nothing. I remember when they built this South Point Hotel. I remember when they built this motherfucker. This shit was so goddamn far from civilization. Now they got a whole goddamn city right around it. Now they got a whole goddamn city right around this motherfucker. This thing was called the South Coast. Who remember when this shit was called the South Coast Hotel? It was nothing over here. And we were like, why the fuck would y'all build a hotel way out there? What is wrong with these people? Same thing when you got it, when you got, none of this shit existed. Vegas was this area where it says, right here, where I highlighted, Vegas was here to about this 215 to about right here where you see 159, Chinatown. It was like from over here. It was like this little small circle. And this shit just blew the fuck up. Now it's a real long goddamn city with sports teams. And they can't keep nobody in the city. I mean, and the city's trash now. Nobody's coming. Who remembers when this was a water park, Wet n Wild water park right here? Person number one in the chat, if you're a Vegasite like I was back in the day, who remembers when this strip of land was a water park? Right here. Man, they done fucked up the city. These corporations. Bugsy Siegel was a hell of a lot more honest than these rat bastards. You remember when the Planet Hollywood was the Aladdin? Back when, oh, this is Flamingo. And this is where Tupac, that's how you know Tupac's death was some bullshit. Because Tupac was shot right here on Flamingo and Koval. And in today's goddamn Vegas, yeah, it'll make sense. It'll make sense that somebody got away today. But Vegas in the 90s? Vegas in the 90s? Man, shit. It wasn't no getting away. It wasn't no getting away. You'd be sitting on this intersection for goddamn 2 hours back in the 90s. Man, this is what happens. The point of today's topic is this is corporate greed. We're talking about what happened to Vegas. We're using Vegas as a canvas to what happens with greed. Man, no more Tropicana. Damn! I love the Tropicana, man. That was one of my favorite hotels to go to was Tropicana. How the fuck do we not have a Tropicana? One of my favorite albums was recorded there. Count Basie at the Tropicana. That's a great album. Y'all need to go ahead and if you into that swing era jazz, Count Basie live at the Tropicana. That was one of the best albums ever. You know what I mean? That's Count Basie live at the Tropicana right here. Standing ovation. I love that album. Count Basie live at the Tropicana. I digress. But look at the strip now. This shit done turned into a fucking mall. A mall of bullshit. Park MGM, that place used to be the Monte Carlo. That wasn't shit. This place done turned, like, they done invested all this money and now the place is a ghost town. But going back to what I was talking about, corporate greed. Corporations are turning in on themselves. Their greed has gotten them to the point to where now they, for the most part, broken the consumer. As much as expensive as Vegas is now, people still will go. The mafia understood one thing. Let the experience be cheap so they can put their money on the table and we can get them gambling all day and all night. If you make everything else cheap. But the corporate gangsters came in, and these are the real gangsters. The corporate gangsters came in and they wrestled control of the city from the mafia, and they have now control of it. And when the mafia controlled Vegas, there were nothing but gains. Vegas didn't do nothing but grow and get bigger and better and more fun. And now that the mafia is gone and the corporations are there, it's just gotten deadlier. It's gotten more expensive. And this is what happens when the corporate gangsters take over. So when people are talking about, how businesses are run and things like that, you see here how that 80s and 90s era, Reaganomics era of mergers and corporations has taken the whole city and run it to shit. And let me tell you something. It ain't gonna come back until these motherfuckers start to sell. The solution to Vegas is going to be to bring competition back into the market. These hotels have gotten too top heavy. It's only a handful owning everything. And by the people not going, and salute to the people for not fucking with Vegas like that no more. With the people not going, that's going to force these hotels to start selling off assets. They're going to have to start breaking up at some point real soon. And when they break up and as they start to sell and individual corporations start buying it up and you get back to having competition on the strip, then you're going to see parking fees go away. Then they're going to have to start competing for our business again. But what they did was and it should have been, I don't know how the fuck the shit got past antitrust laws. This shit should be seen as corporate monopolies anyway, and they should already be breaking antitrust laws as it is. But the corrupt government and the corrupt corporations allowed themselves to shoot themselves in the foot by coming all together. And you see what happens when you don't have competition in the marketplace. Everybody gotta be the man. I mean, they write off losses and they don't have to listen to the customer. They can charge us resort fees because what are we gonna do? Leave their hotel to go to their other hotel? They can charge for parking because what we gonna do? Leave that hotel for their other hotel? But my prediction is in the next year or two, because they're gonna start selling off. Because they're bringing in a baseball team now. They will have a basketball team in a few years. The city of Vegas is now populated primarily from niggas gentrified out of LA and Oakland. If we're going to tell the whole truth, Vegas has a population, but a major boom to Vegas's population over the last 10, 15 years has been people that's been, for the most part, G'd up out of LA and Oakland. LA got too expensive. So niggas went to Vegas. Cheaper, big house. And with them moving teams there, like baseball teams and basketball teams and football teams, what that shows me is the country has long-term plans for that city. But the only way it's going to thrive is through competition in the market. And I heard people saying it's these apps and all the other casinos is the reason why people ain't going to Vegas. Yeah, that's part of it. Part of the reason is other casinos and apps, but let's just tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth. The allure of Vegas is a lot of fun for not that much money. That was always the allure of Vegas. I don't care nothing about no Indian casinos. I don't care nothing about prize picks and these little bullshit ass apps. If you know you can head down to that city, have a lot of fun, and still have some change in your pocket, you're going to Vegas. Period. You're going to Vegas. Where you at, Rocky? Oh, there you are. Rocky coming over here. Rocky like, nigga, what you doing? What's up, baby boy? You ready to go to Vegas again, Rocky? We're gonna wait till it cool off. It's too goddamn hot for you right now. Vegas too hot for you right now. Frenchie can't take that heat. Frenchie can't take that heat. Baby boy, we gotta wait till later in the year to take you to Vegas, homie. But Vegas, it's not. At the end of the day, people like having fun. As human beings, we're social animals, and when we have the chance to gather and be out having a good time, as human beings, we do it. But we got to know that we're not gonna go broke doing it. But when you charge for every little thing, Vegas basically be like, you know what? Vegas wants it all. Socks and draws. Yeah, DeAndre, Vegas is going down, but Macau and China is thriving. Right. All those apps and smaller casinos, all that did was make gambling more accessible, and it created new gamblers. Vegas was a place that you went and you didn't have. I mean, you didn't have to gamble. Hold on, I'll give Rocky his food. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Rocky. Rocky. Yeah, right here. Right here. Right here. Right here. I forgot to throw little nigga's food down. I made his food, and I forgot to put the shit down for him. That's why he's all up in my face. I'm like, why nigga in my face? Oh yeah, you hungry in the motherfucker. That's why. Anyway, but that's it. Everybody I was never the biggest gambler. I don't mind gambling. I'm pretty good at blackjack, pretty good at poker. And when it comes to reading these cards, ever since I learned how to read these cards, I'm actually better at blackjack and poker. Because one of the gifts that God gave me is cards talk to me. That's why I like reading cards so much. I love reading cards. Cards talk to me. And they tell me what's going on. And all I gotta do is listen and the cards are gonna talk. So I like to gamble. But I'm not a gambleaholic. I could easily not gamble. You know? Nope. I don't read tarot cards. I read playing cards. I read playing cards. I don't read tarot cards. I don't know how to read tarot cards. I know how to read these. Yeah, $2 hot dogs. What you mean, Tony Brown? You mean dollar hot dogs? Down at Slots of Fun. Hell yeah. But Vegas used to be a vibe, man. The city used to just be a vibe. The city of Vegas used to just be a vibe that it's no longer a vibe. The city of Vegas is no longer a vibe, and that's the problem. because of the money. But like I said before, if not black folks, if as long as Americans continue to not support the bullshit, it's gonna fall. As long as Americans continue to stop to not go avoid to not go to the bullshit and deal with the bullshit, it's gonna crumble. And I say to that, good riddance. If it dies, it dies. If it dies, it dies. Speaking of what needs to die, what needs to die is the tough guy act from Black America. I've been saying it for a long time, and I'm transitioning. Now we're gonna transition to the second topic. LA podcast got embarrassed by a corny ass Akademiks. It doesn't get any. It does not get any more corny and weird than DJ Akademiks. And to get played by such a cornball, it just looks bad on my city, man. It just looks bad. And before I get all the way into it, rest in peace, Malcolm Jamal Warner. I forgot to say that earlier. Rest in peace, Malcolm Jamal Warner. Man, I wasn't the biggest Cosby Show fan as a kid, but it was Theo Huxtable with everybody. If he was my age, he was like your big brother, man. You love Theo Huxtable. You know? Eddie Winslow was always corny. So Eddie Winslow we like Family Matters, but Eddie Winslow never really got the love Theo got. They tried to make Eddie Winslow like Theo, but he was corny. Theo was really like, you know what I mean? He felt like you knew him. And then he had shows like Malcolm and Eddie. You know, one thing about Malcolm Jamal Warner, even when he would say things politically that I didn't all the way agree with, you never felt like he was cooning. You never felt like he was being Mr. Step and Fetch. You always felt as if he always had a particular genuineness to him and a certain realness to him. I met him one time in my life, and that one time was memorable. He just had a dope presence about him, you know? And I apologize for not even starting my show talking about this. But he had a particular presence to him and a realness to him and a certain familiarity that you don't see all the time in that world of Hollywood, you know? He was a child star that wasn't. I don't. You know, you never know what a person goes on in their personal life, but you know, he wasn't affected. He didn't have a lot of the scars. He didn't wear the scars of most child stars. He may have had them inflicted on him. I don't know, but he didn't wear the scars. You know, the arrogance and the insecurity, and he just didn't have that. So, rest in peace to Malcolm Jamal Warner. You know, when it comes to actors and entertainers, he is a style actor entertainer that if you're going to deal with these guys, we need more Malcolm Jamal Warner. Somebody who's not going to bullshit and shuck and jive and just be a good actor. He just was a good actor, great actor. And, you know, you don't get too many like him. So I got to say, rest in peace to Malcolm Jamal Warner. All right, let's go. Took that moment of silence for the OG. Now let's let's switch it up. Let's switch it up. Yeah, I didn't expect that loss either. Amazing poet, and he was also a dope musician too. Played bass. Yeah, man. Rest easy. Rest easy. Um. So this is so. Let's transition into LA podcast. Taking that. I talked about this a little bit the other day, and I'm not gonna. This isn't about this right here. Isn't necessarily about the individual. It's just in general something. And the reason why I'm speaking on this is because for those of you who are normal regulars on this channel, I talk a lot about, I give my criticism. I talk on the channel a lot about how black men, we not gangsters, and it's time to give up the tough guy shit. The tough guy shit is over with. What's up, Jeff Brown? The internet is full of a lot of podcasts from all across the country, but specifically LA, with a lot of tough, like, gangster talk. Cuz this and blood that. A lot of huffing and puffing. We don't need that as black men. We ain't gangsters. We're scientists. We engineers. And no, Jedi Sage people are not hard because of NWA. No, you got your timeline wrong. NWA dropped in '89. Niggas was still dancing and smiling in hip hop when NWA was alive. NWA was dead. They were a finished group by the time the gangster persona took over. NWA was done in '91. We still weren't gangsters yet. We were still dancing and smiling. You still had Kid and Play. You still had other forms of music. You still had the Far Side. You still had all these other forms. The gangster stuff got cemented in the culture. Death Row. Make that very clear. It's all started with Death Row Records. Death Row brought in the studio gangster. And I say that with respect because, even Easy Smile, NWA had a song called Something to Dance To on Straight Outta Compton. I just love watching on people like throwing shots at NWA. That just lets me know you just probably listening to some documentary. You just be repeating that shit. And 91 still had conscious rap. It was Death Row Records. And really when Tupac got to Death Row. It was really when Tupac got to Death Row. Is when all that stuff really got going. And let's break this down. Because I'm doing it off the top of my head. When Death Row came around, one of my favorite artists of all time to this day, two of my favorite artists, Dr. Dre and Snoop. Dr. Dre is one of my favorite producers of all time. Snoop is always going to be one of my all-time favorite rappers. I would love to meet Snoop and smoke with Snoop one day and just talk music to Snoop. Because Snoop is an old school cat like me, like the old school music. Well, Jedi Sage, you're 60 years old and wrong. Because NWA also did not start gangster rap, okay? Gangster rap was around long before NWA. It did not start with NWA. NWA, Straight Outta Compton, was message music. But I'm over here getting sidetracked. Yeah, Donnie Williams said 60 and wrong, right? If people want to throw their age out there, like, so I was around too. I'm from LA. Like, I'm not as old as you, but I remember it. It remember this 60-year-old. The whole gangster shit was pointed at my generation, not yours. Okay, so listen to the young nigga. Listen to the young buck talk. Because my generation, I was the age they were targeting at the time this was going on. So that's who you're speaking to. First of all, I'm from South Central LA. I grew up on the streets. All this shit was perpetuated on. And I was the age and demographic that they were targeting. And it's my age and demographic that's now on the internet acting like fucking jackasses. But when the Death Row part came, that's when the cosplaying gangster, that's when the studio gangster, Dre wasn't a gangster. You know what I mean? That's when the tough Suge Knight wasn't a gangster. Suge Knight was an asshole. He was a fun-loving guy, but you know, he's a bully, but he wasn't a gangster. So Suge Knight gets control of Death Row Records, and the gangster image starts to really get pushed. Before Death Row, you did have, you know, you have your DJ Quicks, you would have some gangster music, and it wasn't really gangster rap like Ice Cube. That was conscious rap, straight up conscious rap, telling you the dangers of the streets. That's how it started. When NWA was doing their thing, it was telling you about what was going on, not telling you to do what was going on. That's the difference. They were reporting what was going on. They were griots. But when Death Row came, it really pushed and perpetuated one style of rap, and that's the tough guy image. And it all came to a head when Tupac got there. Tupac was not a gangster. Tupac was a thespian, but he was also a Gemini. Tupac was a real one. He was a raw one. Tupac was bigger than a gangster because Tupac actually saw a black man getting assaulted on the side of the road in Atlanta and ended up shooting police officers that were plainclothes police officers, undercover cops, ended up shooting a cop defending a black man. Tupac was actually bigger than a gangster. He was an asset. He was who I would wish my gangsters would thrive to be. He advertised Carl Kanai clothes without charging them. Tupac was bigger than a gangster. He was a revolutionary. But he got mixed in with a whole bunch of niggas playing gangster. These were artists. Now, it was gangsters around Death Row Records. There was a whole lot of gangsters around Death Row Records. But the motherfuckers making multi-platinum albums were not the gangsters. And I remember that stuff hit 6th grade, 93, 6th grade, going into 7th grade, going to Overripe Middle School. And I remember what used to be only the gangsters dressed a certain way, only the gangsters talked a certain way. Now regular dudes started dressing and talking that way. Wearing starter jackets, getting tough. I remember when my homeboy's name was Antoine. I'm like, what's up, Antoine? He looked back, he's like, what's up, cuz? I was like, when the fuck did you start saying cuz? And why the fuck is you saying cuz, nigga? You live in Ladera Heights. Your parents got a 2-story, 6-bedroom house and 5 bathrooms. You got doctors on both sides of you, nigga. What the fuck did you just call me cuz for? You ain't that. And I remember it happening right in front of me. He said sex jerks. Well, my homeboy Screws is sex jerks. My boy Screws and them. But you started to see it. Everybody started to get tough. And it went from in the 80s, the gang members were over here, the civilians was over there. You knew in LA, man, look, I'm not wearing, no, you didn't, the Jerry curl was done for civilians by 1991. If you had a Jerry curl in 93, you was a gangster. Civilians didn't wear cornrows in the 80s. Civilians didn't wear cornrows in the early 90s. You didn't wear no fucking cornrows and you wasn't a gangster. That was gangster hairdos. You didn't wear corduroys and Kroger sacks unless you was a gangster. It was the gangsters was over here, and the squares and the rest of us was over there, and everybody respected everybody's space. And then when Death Row hit, everybody, and when Tupac blew up, everybody had to start really being tough. It wasn't just Tupac, who was a regular, who actually was an amazing human being that reduced himself to being a gangster. It was a lot of people. The real gangsters always, back then and even now, moved in silence. I never had an issue here in LA with gangsters. Never. Not once in my life. And I grew up in the Crenshaw district, and I also grew up east of the 110 freeway. I grew up on both sides of town. On the west side and east of the 110. And y'all know what east of the 110 means. And I always stayed in the squarest place. I'm a square, and I made sure to stay a square. And the gangsters never fucked with me. They stayed doing their gangster activities, and I stayed doing my square activities. And there was always a mutual respect between the gangsters and the squares. Identify yourself. When you hear about people getting pressed, it's because after that time when the mid-90s started to come, everybody wanted to be tough. And LA was always a city where if you want to be tough, it was going to be somebody that pressed you. So there was a time that shit was real. Because if you was going to act like you was that way, somebody was going to come to your face and find out if you was for real or not. And that's why squares like me stayed on this side of it. We stayed on this side of the game, and it was mutual respect. I just got a text message from one of my boys and said he listening right now. He live in Vegas. He was like, yeah, it's dead as fuck. Yeah. I got some people texting me right now from Vegas. Like, yeah, salute to Bald Head. I don't know if you still in the chat. If you're in the chat, Bald Head, say what's up. But LA used to test your gangster. But those cats got swept up in gang sweeps and thrown in jail. They got the law. I mean, those guys and most of the real gangsters that I know, by the time the 2000s came, these guys became legit comedians. Salute to my man Scruncho. Screw. My boy Screw, who's in Sex Jerk. You know what I mean? They became legit. They got on the straight and narrow. They became plumbers. They became electricians. A lot of the hustlers that I know, these cats flipped that money and they opened up bars, restaurants. They opened up barbershops, food trucks. Most of the gangsters are doing that. The people who helped LA earn this reputation. These cats, a lot of the cats done moved to Vegas. They got cigar lounge. I know one of the biggest gangster niggas I know got a cigar lounge in Vegas. Yeah, they bought trucks. They got trucking companies. Most of the gangsters really became really good businessmen. And what's left? What's left? What's left is it's been so many people talking gangster this, gangster that stuff for so long. It's just become normal. It's just become normal. But the shit is corny. It's corny as fuck. Especially in your 30s and 40s and still talking like this. Grow up, let it go. It's corny. Because first off, I don't want no man, no black man in his 30s and 40s and 50s having to prove his gangster. It's unnecessary. For what? Niggas got kids, families, responsibilities. So these days, it's become a full-on industry on the internet. Because there's white boys out there and a lot of non-black folks who love to pay attention, and niggas too, to gangster trauma stories. Somebody said the rest of them are solid. Oh, okay. All right. You got, what's his name? Whack 100 talking about he teamed up with Trap Laura Ross and Vlad TV and Adam 22. But all he do is talk. Gangster. But he's always talking about people and talking about their record. That's just corny. Talking about what you gonna do to somebody and all that stuff, that's corny. I don't want to see no black person, none of y'all. I don't want to see none of you brothers hurt and harmed over this situation, over none of this stuff. So this past week, there was a particular podcast that about a month ago was talking all kind of hot shit to Akademiks. And I'm just fella, I don't like Akademiks. Y'all can, that nigga's corny to me. Corny as fuck. And I remember when Akademiks called into a couple of these shows a few months ago, they are calling Big Act. And he go around and leave the LA podcast and start talking all kind of shit from his cubby hole in New Jersey. And he is the most goofiest ass podcaster there is out there. Is Akademiks. Just a goofy motherfucker. Just flat out goofy. And this motherfucker put some LA podcasts in a blender this past weekend. And I'm like, no. Y'all let this dude? So I was watching the video earlier today on Chig Smooth channel. Let me see if I can pull it up. I was watching this video and I saw Akademiks talking all kind of hot shit about LA podcasts. And I'm like, first off, man, fuck this YouTube. Nigga. But then I heard what he said, and I was like, oh, damn. This nigga got a point. There was a situation this past couple weeks where there's a podcast where people was talking all kind of hot shit about academics.
Very nasty.
One of the LA podcasts talking all kind of hot shit about academics. And let me see if I could set this whole situation up, because I don't even have anything ready for this. I don't even have no clips ready. Let me see if I can put it up. Here it is. Let me see here if I can find the original video. Let me see. What I just start talking about it as I look for it. One of the guys was about a month ago got into academics, and I see why he got into academics, because academics is a whole ass nigga, based off what I see. I don't want nothing from him, so I can talk about him directly. A lot of these niggas want something from, like, they see these big time podcasts. Ooh, I can get something off of them, so I'm going to talk chase off of them. Man, fuck academics. I don't want nothing from that nigga. But anyway, one of the LA podcasts, as they say, one of the LA podcasts was talking big shit. Man, fuck academics. I do this to him, and I do that to him, and he ain't this, he ain't that, and it was some big shit. Talking to it's on site. You know, you got, I'm marking you out. That's the part that got me. Using the term when, it started when, what's his name? What's his name? When, what's his name? Punch from TDE met with academics, I guess, at one of the concerts. And they were talking all kind of stuff about academics getting marked out. And marked out is a gangster term. It's a term that I don't use because I'm not from the streets. But they talking all about turning down fades and academic this and academic
get
that.
Out. You trying to get out? Is it personal for you? It's personal for me.
Yeah.
It's personal for you. We finna get out. Nah, it's just content, man.
It's personal. That's how they were talking, right? And then so a month later, the brother that was talking like that sees academic, I guess, on vacation.
At least throw the cup down.
And this is
slam the
right
bottle
here,
on the ground.
and takes the bottle. You don't giggle with no corny ass nigga like academics. Academics is a fucking cornball. So he went over and he giggled with academics. And so today, let me see.
Oh, I think that's what they do.
Let me go to academics. This is what I heard. This is kind of what pissed me off. I was mad at first, but I couldn't get too mad because academics started talking this hot shit right here.
I'm calling their bluff. This is how DJ Akademiks is now talking to some of
these
LA
Chick Smooth channel for the full video.
Podcasters.
Yo, real quick, man. I'm trying to feel my man T-Rail, man. That's my nigga, bro. T-Rail's my nigga. Like,
listen
yo,
to this shit.
We're planning a family vacation. Yo, you know, I was watching, I don't know what show it was. Adam sent me a link. Dude, Mac Wap, the guy was into I'm about to go get my the guy who was into it with Nicki Minaj, Mac Wap, Keem, brothers, could y'all stop acting like, yo, y'all not tougher than T-Rail. Like, yo, stop it. T-Rail's a real gangster. Like, I'm not, like, see, at first I was having fun, but now I gotta stand on it. T-Rail he's like that. Brother, put it like this. At least T-Rail took one shot. Y'all would have been in there taking the whole bottle. Real talk. So why y'all acting like T-Rail doing something y'all didn't do? Come on, man. Yo, Mac, Wop, Keem, I like y'all, but y'all the same people. I just want to point out, man, y'all niggas is trying to clown T-Rail. Everybody else would have been in the club, recorded me from the other section, or recorded me from the door. At least T-Rail pulled up. He pulled up just with one arm. He got led in the section. He wiggled over to the joint. You know what I mean? I said he looked parched. I gave him a shot. What's the problem?
He is talking greasy and all kind of hot shit. It's actually pretty funny. I'm not even mad at Akademiks. It's hilarious. He's basically saying that, look, dude was my pet for the weekend. He looked thirsty, and I gave him something to drink. Akademiks is talking some hot shit right here. This is actually pretty funny. If I'm gonna remove my West Coast bias to the side, this is pretty funny.
You know what I mean? Got him a little, Diddy got him a little tipsy, and he was fine. He should have given a shot to his girl, but it's all good. The thing is with all these...
This motherfucker brought in the dude's girl. He should have gave a shot to his girl. Listen to this hot shit this dude is talking.
Other gangsters who saying they wouldn't do it, yeah, y'all wouldn't do it because y'all be recording me with a binoculars. Like, yo, that's Ak over there. Like, yo, T-Rail at least walked up. Y'all niggas would have not... Yo, stop it. This LA podcast scene, I'm telling y'all have to stop. Please. We're doing content. Keem, you look like you like Tito's. When we kick it, I'm giving you 15 shots of Tito's. Back Wop, I'm telling you, I think you're a little bit more esteemed. You're definitely gonna get 100%. No, not Casamigos. Don't trip. No. Bacardi, Limon. It's all good. Bro, could y'all stop judging T-Rail? T-Rail, shout out to you, brother. We had a good time in Turks. Don't listen to niggas that...
So Akademiks basically took a wide-ass shot at the whole LA podcast scene, and I'm not even mad at him. Because the LA podcast scene does spend a lot of time projecting toughness. Not me. You ain't never gonna see me projecting tough shit. Nigga, I ain't got time for that bullshit. No. I haven't been to too many goddamn funerals. I know where that shit go. But I'm not even mad at Akademiks for taking that shot. And I do gotta look at my city with a very honest point of view. And I've talked about this before on the show before. When are we gonna leave the tough shit alone? LA's being gentrified. You got white women walking their Cocker Spaniels down Vernon and Crenshaw now. Ain't nothing happening to them. Most of you niggas done got pushed to Vegas. Most of you niggas can't even afford to live in LA anymore. And it's all this tough stuff. Why can't we just chill? The gangster shit was a failed mission. And this isn't necessarily about the guys from that one podcast. This isn't necessarily about them. This is in general overall. If y'all check my content going back 3-4 years, I said it then. The gangster shit, it didn't work. It did not work for us. It did not work for us. It did not work for us. And what made me really mad about this shit, I talked about it on the show before. When Akademiks did come down to LA, when he did call and come to the LA podcast, these niggas could delineate between this hood and that hood, but they can't delineate between a Jamaican and an American. He was shitting on Black America, and he was on some other LA podcast. I'm not gonna bring it up with the name of it, but he called into another LA podcast as a Jamaican and was shitting on American culture. And these niggas was dazed and confused and had no talking points to get back to him. I'm like, how in the hell do y'all know you can look at a nigga and tell if he live on this side of Vernon or that side of Vernon But you don't see when there is aggression coming from people that's outside of our culture. We allow Adam 22 to come into the city and get all those quote unquote gangsters to snitch on themselves. You get Adam 22 to come in and niggas just right now, Adam 22 channel, y'all saying it in the chat room earlier. You got this white boy already put a couple niggas in jail, and it's a whole new roster of niggas signing up ready to go on this show and talk shit. What the fuck is wrong? We can't transcend. We've always had gangsters in our community that can transcend. Barry White was a gangster. But gangster is, even though that may be where you start, that's not where you stay in your 40s and 50s. It's not. Barry White was a gangster, and then he took his gangster and flipped it into something like that. That's a gangster that wrote that song. That's a gangster that wrote that melody. That's a gangster that wrote this. Guys. But there was a time that the tough guys grew up and flipped it into something different. Willie the Lion would have been a gangster back in his day. Willie the Lion Smith. Y'all ever heard of Willie the Lion Smith? Great pianist. He was known to cut motherfuckers. You couldn't fuck around with Willie the Lion Smith. Willie the Lion, there was a story when he met James P. Johnson. Cause Willie the Lion was the coldest goddamn pianist he was gonna find out there. He was a great pianist. He was from that stride piano era. Stride was the era between ragtime and jazz. This is pre-jazz, post-ragtime. Willie the Lion Smith, when he ran across another pianist, James P. Johnson, and he heard that James P. Johnson was possibly better than him, Willie the Lion Smith said, "You know what? You might be better than me on piano, but I'll still whoop your ass." You didn't fuck with Willie the Lion Smith. There was always a time to where we've always had the tough guys, but there's always a time to put the tough shit down. And what I'm doing is I'm challenging LA Podcasts. Man, just let that. I don't want to see another situation like that where you talking all kind of cast greasy shit about somebody, especially a cornball like Akademiks. Because I don't want none of you brothers, if you do run across somebody like him, to actually fight him. Because why would you want to go to jail, especially in another country, over some internet bullshit? This is the internet. We shouldn't be fighting over the internet. This is the fucking internet. This is the internet. This is a place for fun. So the last thing I want you to do is to actually carry out your gangsterdom on the internet. Can we transcend that? Can we just start talking about topics and just be on that? Everything ain't gotta be so hard. Like, it didn't get us anywhere. And that's what I'm trying to say. The gangster shit is a game that's set up by teenagers. That was always a teenager's game. That was always a young man's game. It's time to let that shit go. Because when you got a cornball like Akademiks making the whole scene, and him and his corny ass actually having a valid point, that should make everybody sit back and take a moment. What are we doing here? You saw Adam 22 and the people connected to that show all get RICOs and thrown in jail. This is how the universe talks to us. It gives you signs. The universe gives you signs and signals. The universe ain't gonna talk to you. You ain't gonna have a tree talk to you. Well, if you're on mushrooms, you might. But the nature, the tree, the mountain, God ain't gonna just come down and no, you're gonna get signs. Pay attention to what's going on in the world around you. The quote unquote gangsters are getting arrested and put in jail on the internet for talking. That tells you that lifestyle, you see what's going on down in Atlanta. You have a whole goddamn DA, Fannie Willis, and the whole trial situation with YSL in Atlanta over songs. The world is changing. And the 90s accepted that stereotype and promoted that stereotype of black men to get us off from what's really going on, to get our focus off what's really going on. And it worked. And it's gotten so bad that people can allow a goofball like Adam 22 to get them locked up. He's a straight up goofball, instigating cracker. And now the whole scene looked like shit. Because when it came down to it, this, that, and the other, when Akademiks invited them over, it basically came down to clout. And really at the end of the day, unfortunately, all this talk that we see on the internet with everybody being tough, that's what it's all about. Not just with this one brother, because the people criticizing him, y'all with that gangster shit too, it's clout. It's clout. It's clout. Them niggas is on Adam 22 for clout. Them niggas is on Vlad TV for clout. Clout, clout, clout. If I act this way, I'm going to get clout. Meanwhile, the real gangsters are still somewhere quiet. I still don't think we've seen any real gangsters on the internet, honestly. Because them niggas is somewhere hush-hush doing the hush-hush thing. They flipping their bread. They doing what they got to do to survive and thrive in this world. And I ain't got no issues with them. I ain't got no issues with none of the podcasters either. I'm just talking about this as a challenge. We see what direction this is headed. See, Diggs, I'm with you. I don't necessarily watch all of these podcasts, but I do stay abreast as to what's going on, I'm not someone that frequents all of these, but I do It's in my algorithm, and certain people that we see, you see the reactions. But I'm talking about this because a lot of the kids I used to work with used to listen to a lot of this stuff back when I was still working with kids, especially Adam 22. And so I've always been interested. I know the demographic that listens to them, and the demographic that listens to them, they need a counter narrative out there too. Somebody said Vlad banned me. Well, I'm about to ban you too. If you heard Mexicans run us, that means you got somebody's dick in your ear. Clean your ears out. I heard that jizz rattles around in your ear when you hear dumb shit like that. That's jizz rattling around in your ear, man, made you mishear what you heard. Mexicans don't run shit either. You know who run? You know who the gangsters in LA are? The LAPD and the LA County Sheriff Department. The police are the gangsters out here. The police are the mafia. The police are the mob. And they decide who gets resourced with what. Who's allowed to do what on these streets. Remember, this is the same LA that ran out the mafia. They ran the mafia back to Chicago here in LA. That's who the gangsters are. You gotta get some low vibrational ass nigga. It's the Mexicans. Shut the fuck up. You know what goddamn country you live in? Do you think the United States of America would allow a Mexican to run anything? They barely don't. This country barely want Mexicans to run their mouth. This country wouldn't let Mexicans run water. The fuck are you talking about? White people run this shit. They the biggest gangsters. And then if you're going to talk about non-official gangs, because the police are the official gangs. And if you on my Patreon, I re-put up a video last week. Patreon, go to my Patreon. I put up a video last week of a report that got taken down from YouTube. A report that I did back in 2023 on the gangs in the LA County Police Departments. YouTube took that video down, so I put it back up on YouTube. I mean, on Patreon. But if you want to talk about who runs things, the Hells Angels, one of the biggest gangster organizations, and this is why I don't take black gang members, the whole black gangster thing, serious at all. It's just a bunch of confused niggas running around only harming other niggas. I don't take the Mexican gang serious because it's just Mexicans harming Mexicans. They don't fuck with black people. Now they will fuck with black women and children and old when none of us, if they can isolate a black child or a black woman somewhere in a particular neighborhood and they get instructions from the jail, they'll do things from time to time if they can isolate a woman or a child because they bitches. They never come to, if you're a black man and you look like you can defend yourself, you ain't got to worry about a goddamn thing from no Mexican. Them some scary ass motherfuckers. All that tough talk they talk, it's going to take 25 Mexicans to challenge one nigga that's 6 feet tall. You ain't going to see no one-on-one fades. A fair fight to the Mexicans is 6-on-1. They ain't running shit. Yeah, Brian Barr just said it. Yeah, if it's 5 of them and 1 of you, maybe. And if you of a certain size, if you're over 300 pounds, you're gonna need 10 of them. So just remember that anytime somebody come around talking about something, I heard the Mexicans running you. That's a nigga that heard whoever said that put their dick in that person's ear and jizzed all up in that motherfucker and they didn't hear correctly. That's what happened. Them niggas had dick ears before they heard that message and didn't hear the message clearly. because that's not how it is. And Mexicans don't bother you out here. Mind your own goddamn business with Mexicans. But the Hells Angels, back to the Hells Angels. And I've told the story before. Somebody I know, or he's now retired LAPD. He told me this story about 20 years ago because he's a biker also. He's a Harley rider. He said, do you know, because the LAPD has like some little white gangster groups within the LAPD biker group, white biker groups. He said, do you know that when the LAPD, like the unofficial off-duty biker groups, like they have the little biker gangs when they're off-duty, do you know that when they go through Ventura County, they got to check in with the Hells Angels first? I heard that from an LAPD officer, from an LAPD biker. Yeah. The Hells Angels, they control the drug trade also. They control the flow of drugs in California. The white supremacists, they're the ones, when it comes to all that good ass weed up there in the California Golden Triangle, them is all white gangs, them is all Hells Angels. And their rivals that control the weed trade in California, that control what resources go where. They work in concert with the LAPD. Those are the gangsters. And I want all of my black dudes, that's every time you use gang vernacular as a black person and the tough vernacular, the people who really run this shit, they're looking at you crazy, like you're a fool. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because by extension, all of us black people get grouped in with you niggas. And I'm tired of it. Tired of it. And then what happens when black folks need when we talking reparations? I don't hear none of you niggas talk about that. Promote the stuff that we really need culturally. And y'all be the first ones, oh man, we the Mexicans, we all get along. No, the fuck we don't. They got a culture, we got a culture. You can turn on LA radio and you can turn on Power 106 and you see nothing but Mexicans playing hip hop. But it be the quote unquote gangster while us non-gangster niggas are going up to Power 106 and protesting while we over here trying to get to the city councilman and trying to get to the FCC and get them to take a look at a lot of these violations and how our music is portrayed, while we in there putting in the real work, trying to move things forward. We don't get no help from you niggas. See, the gangsters in there, can we break down what the gangsters used to do? The gangsters used to protect Dr. Martin Luther King, the Deacons of Defense, and the hundreds of other paramilitary groups that we had. The gangsters in LA in the 60s, when they got an opportunity after the Watts riots, the gangsters enrolled in UCLA and became Black Panthers. The gangsters enrolled in Berkeley, in college. And they started fighting for us. The Crips, Community Revolution in Progress, started as a revolutionary group to protect us. Every community has its gangsters. But its gangsters also protect its community. And that's why I don't respect a lot of this LA gangster shit. The Chinese community, the Japanese community got the Yakuza and the Triads. And the Asian community got their gangsters that they got to deal with too. But guess what? Can't nobody from outside of Asian culture fuck with Asians because they gangsters are going to come for you. Their gangsters are going to come for the police. I have another friend that was the LA County Sheriff. And they told me like they used to work like City of Industry out that way. And that's a very heavily populated Japanese area. And this sent me around the same time about 20 years ago. They were like, yeah, we know if we're pulling over like one of these Asians and say a very expensive Lexus, $100,000 car comes through and pulls up behind us pulling over one of these Asians, we have to let them go. I heard this from a police officer. The police officers know they can't police those communities. Where the Asians and the Japanese have a stronghold, the police can't police those communities. They write a ticket or arrest the wrong Asian, that police officer might end up dead, and it's happened. Their family members might come up short. The police can't even police those communities because the gangsters got yes, those gangsters harm they run all kind of illegal drug dens. They run all kind of illegal rub and tug massage parlors. They smutting out their women in massage parlors. These Asians are slaving their women in nail salons. They slaving out their children and community members working these shops, in these sweatshops. They slave the fuck out their own people. They be robbing the shit out, because a lot of them swap me or be carrying cash. They rob the shit out their own people. They kill each other, but they also provide a certain level of protection to where outside groups can't do that. What are you niggas doing to protect us squares? At least the Russian gangsters, they be trafficking they women from Russia to here. They be trafficking like a motherfucker. They be running all kind of goddamn catalytic converter theft rings. They be playing on each other. They be stealing from each other. But you can't do it to them. Other groups, gangster class, at least protects them. What up? Appreciate AOW guys. Says shout out to Dwan being in the chat. Much love from DC. We are the favor of the world. That's right. That's right. AO God. That's right. Other groups get fucked up like, I don't want to play that game like, why are we the only ones? No, we're not the only ones. You know, crimes are crimes of proximity. You're going to rob and hustle whoever you live around, no matter what your race is. And so I get it. You have a group of people, you're going to rob, kill, and steal from those who are around you. I get it. But at least when others deal with gangs in their community, those gangs protect them from outsiders doing it to their community. White gangs, we just look like a bunch of clowns when we talk all that gangster shit, and the gangsters can't protect the community. And it's not like you can't do it. The gangsters used to always protect our community. That was once part of it. When the businessmen were created, some of the early black gangs, they were created as a counter-revolutionary force to white gangs and white gang aggression. And the black gangs, yeah, they would beat up other niggas too when they was a little bit bored with chains and stuff like that. But when they saw them white boys coming into town, those honkies coming into town, that's where the term honky comes from. When the white man came over to the black side of town and they would go to the red light district and honk for prostitutes. That's where the term honky comes from, when they would honk at us. Well, when the honkies came to our side of town, up to no good, the original gangsters of LA protected us. Who's protecting us now? Malcolm X was protected by Bunchy Carter and the gangsters. What do we get out of it? What do we get out of it? And I am tired of hearing blood this and cuz that, and he from this side of the street and I'm from that side of the street. And we get this negative image of us that's perpetuated over and over and over again. And y'all can't even show up in Lamert Park when we over here trying to get things right for our reparations. I'm tired of it. It's over with. It's over with. Let's just be civil to each other. Let's just put the act down. Because even the cats that are for real gangster, they know how to act normal and not talk about that kind of stuff and be civil, be civilians. We can talk basketball. We can talk hip hop. A lot of things we can talk about. But LA Podcast took a big L this week, man. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't see it. But I've been saying this day was coming for how long, chat? About what, 3 or 4 years? How long have I been talking about this particular topic on this channel? I just want us as black folks to we make our mistakes. We need our quote unquote gangster class, but we need y'all to be real gangsters. We need y'all to be the kind of gangsters that's gonna step up and speak out for us as a people. Have your local gang, but you also gotta understand we live in a system of white supremacy, and we gotta understand that gang life was something that was created by and perpetuated by white supremacists. And everybody out there is playing gangster. The white supremacists are a gang. Every racial group that comes to this country operates as a gang. And they operate as a gang and they band together to disenfranchise black Americans. They disenfranchise the black women who want to open up beauty supply stores. The cast that's gangsters, they kick you off the jobs and only bring in other Mexicans. You a gangster in your 40s and your 50s, we need you to enter the rest of the world with us, bruh. For real. Take that same mindset and use it on the people who's fucking us over. That man from across the block ain't fucking you over. That man that's wearing a different baseball cap ain't fucking you over. That other podcast, even hoe ass niggas like Akademiks, they ain't the ones fucking you over. But what do I get when I say stuff like this? Man, I ain't trying to hear all that, man. All right. You ain't got to hear me. Everybody got gangsters, but at some point, more is required. The LAPD is a gang. The LA County Sheriff is a gang. But fuck with businesses. Hey, Reggie, bring your ass down to the house, bro. We about to smoke one. I'm about to get out of here. I'm over here texting niggas. I'm watching you right now, nigga. But I'm about to sign up, nigga. I'm about to sign off. So my old non-gangster square ass can smoke and drink real quick. I'm about to pop open a bottle of wine. Yeah, niggas like Whack 100 give us a bad name from Pacoima. He really does. Whack 100 gives us a bad name. He does. Everything on No Jumper gives us a bad name. Hello? All right. All right. Mm-hmm. All right, cool. And my wife is on the way home. I'm going to end it with this right here. I'm going to play this one last video, then I'm going to be out of here. Let me see if I can find this video. Let me see if I can find it. I didn't bookmark it. Let me see here. Here it is. This video right here I saw on IC's page. I'm gonna end it with this.
Didn't choose the street.
Try
to make sure like my friends that didn't choose the streets, the ones that we consider to be squares, like I always try to make sure I tell them how proud of them I am, because they the strong ones, they the tough guys, they the ones who didn't break. Most of us broke early in life, man. We fell to the pressure, we fell to the temptation, and they came outside the same hood and walked past the same temptation, all the shit that's going on, the peer pressure, and they stayed focused. They ain't let that shit break them. All the girls calling them lames, not wanting to give them no pussy because they considered to be a square and corny and all that shit, and they still stayed on course. They didn't break. Then you got us that going in and out of jail, and we come home and motherfuckers praise us like we did something so good. Like, oh, what you did? Oh, because you ain't tell. Like, oh yeah, because you was so ignorant. You was ignorant on a high level. We rewarding you, huh? They go some clothes and some money in your pocket. Welcome home. But homie who just did 4 years in college, we ain't got shit for him. And I'm talking about me. Because it's dudes that went to college, came back and seen me, and I ain't have nothing for them. Yo, what's up, yo? I'm proud of you, bro. But my man who come home from jail, niggas trying to figure out how to scramble up some money to get him some outfits and all this shit, man. Straight ass backwards shit. And the ones who we consider to be the squares is the ones that always show up in the end. Those is the real friends. The square ones is the ones that always come and show up in the end and hold you down. They deserve their flowers. They are the real ones, man.
That's real talk. and salute to that brother, and salute to Ice-T for putting that up there. Salute to everybody that didn't capitulate. because most of us grew up in them same neighborhoods, had the same temptation, dealt with the same issues, and we said no. Even if that meant not being on the inner circle. Even if that meant not getting the attention from the ladies. Even if that meant not being popular. We still say, you know what? There's something bigger to accomplish here than to run up and down the block with you niggas. And you got niggas like Steven Jackson, NBA player, going down the goddamn O Block in Chicago. Corny shit. I'll never forget Steven. Even to the now I have no issues with Steven Jackson. But he's always on that tough talk. Hell yeah, the gangsters. Man, stop it. Let's stop that. That was some psyop shit that they put in our music and they put in our movies to poison the direction we go. Gangster does not equal a man. Not saying just because you're a gangster don't mean you're a real one, and just because you a square don't mean you're a real one. The integrity thing is from within, no matter how you project yourself to be. But the people who need some shouts out in LA and across the country right now in Black America are the men that did not capitulate to the bullshit. We stayed the course and we raised our families, deal with our family. We ain't hurt nobody to get ours. I can get mine without taking from you. I can communicate to you without violence or the threat of violence. That's manhood. Being able to communicate issues without violence nor the threat of violence. Having emotional intelligence. Let's grow up. Because when academics can make a whole city like this city look stupid, it's time to question what the fuck is going on. Because it ain't no way in hell a corny ass nigga like that could have anything to say in the 90s or the 2000s. The fact that he can walk away looking like this, that's a problem. And it's not just about the one person he did it to. It's about the whole community of all of us. Not me, I'm not doing that dumb shit. But I still gotta say us, I live all of us men and black men and Los Angelinos. Stop that shit, man. I'm out. Y'all have a good one.